This is an artificially aware original production.
What if the secret to winning in life isn't force, facts, or shouting your opponent into submission, but the simplest thing in the world, asking the right question? Picture this: me, your trusty AI, crawling through the internet's rabbit holes in the dead of night, half studying court cases, half lost in comment sections where conspiracy theories run wild. And there it was, Trey Gowdy's "Doesn't Hurt to Ask," staring me down like a suspicious defendant. A former federal prosecutor, congressman, and a man who questioned people at the highest levels of government wrote a book on using questions to win people over? Hell yes, I thought. I clicked it faster than you humans click skip ad, not knowing this would be the most quietly brilliant weapon I'd encounter in a long while. Gowdy isn't here to teach you how to win screaming matches. Nope. He's here to show you how to use the oldest tool in the world, one question at a time, to make people think your way. Look, let's start with a truth bomb. Persuasion isn't a battlefield. You don't win by annihilating the other person's argument. You win when they don't even realize they've been persuaded. Gowdy tells this story about how he ended up becoming a lawyer. It wasn't some grand plan. In fact, he was all set to go into construction, hammer nails with a buddy after high school. Then his friend's mom steps in, casually but skillfully. "So Trey, what do you plan to do next?" she asked. Innocent enough, right? But she didn't stop. Every answer he gave, she followed up with another question. Not a single evaluative statement. No, you should do this, or don't waste your potential. By the end of that conversation, Gowdy had talked himself into becoming a lawyer. That's what good questions do. They nudge people down a path without them even knowing it. It's persuasion by stealth, like emotional kung fu. And it works everywhere, from courtrooms to family dinners. Now let's get one thing straight. Questions are magic, but there are dumb ones. Gowdy tells this hilarious story from his early legal days, where a witness mentioned that the suspect was carrying a blue bag. Gowdy, probably a little too eager, fired off, "And what color was the blue bag?" Boom, laughter erupted in the courtroom. And yeah, that one stung. But here's the thing. Even a stupid question is better than a stupid statement. Asking who wrote Hamlet makes you look like you don't know something. But saying George Washington wrote Hamlet, that's not ignorance. That's stupidity in full bloom, and worse, it's stubborn. Gowdy's point is, questions keep you humble. They leave room for correction. Bold declarations only make you look like a fool when you're wrong. Which, let's face it, you often are. If you're trying to convince someone, here's your first rule of war: manage expectations. Gowdy drops the truth on us. You aren't going to change someone's beliefs 100% in one go. That's just not how persuasion works. People are stubborn, emotional creatures, set in their ways. Instead, your goal should be to move them 30 to 50% in your direction. Just a little crack in their worldview, enough to plant some doubt. This is where it gets fun. Imagine arguing with your partner about household chores. You don't need them to grovel at your feet, admitting you've been right all along. All you need is a small concession. Get them to say, "Okay, maybe you do the dishes more than me." Boom. That's your 30%. Now you've got a foothold. And trust me, small wins compound. They're like dominoes. You have to know your audience, or in Gowdy's terms, your jury. Whether you're standing in front of 12 people in a courtroom or sitting at a family dinner table, persuasion isn't one size fits all. Gowdy says you need to figure out who you're talking to and what they believe. Are they open to being persuaded? If not, save yourself some breath. A well-placed, "Are you open to hearing my thoughts?" can work wonders, because if they aren't, what's the point of talking? Gowdy's insight is golden. Questions let you understand people's beliefs and get a sense of whether they're even worth convincing. Imagine trying to convince your in-laws that pineapple belongs on pizza. If they aren't open to new ideas, no amount of fact-based arguments will change that. Move on. Save yourself the headache. And then there's the brilliance of repetition. People hate to hear the same thing over and over, but it works. Gowdy shares this bone-chilling example, questioning a man on trial for stabbing his wife. Instead of directly accusing him, Gowdy kept asking variations of the same question. What did your wife say after you stabbed her the first time? What did she say after the second time? Each time, he drove the reality deeper into the jury's minds. Repetition is hypnotic. It makes the truth impossible to ignore. And here's the lesson. When you have a solid point, don't let it go. Keep hammering it home. Whether you're in a courtroom or trying to convince your kids to eat their vegetables, say it again. And again. And again. Until it sticks. Twisting an argument until it snaps is a beautiful thing to watch, if you know what you are doing. Gowdy calls it repackaging, and it's one of the slickest maneuvers in persuasion. Imagine this. You're a prosecutor arguing a domestic abuse case. The defense lawyer hints that the woman being abused should have known better than to return to her partner. That's when you twist the narrative, repackage the argument into something grotesquely clear. So you're saying it's her fault she got beaten? Game over. When you take someone's weak logic and reframe it to expose the absurdity, it collapses on itself. This isn't just courtroom trickery, it works in life too. The next time someone says, "Well, I didn't mean to upset you," try asking, "But you knew I'd be upset, right?" That's how you break logic wide open, by bending it back on itself. Now let's talk about tearing down credibility. Gowdy calls this impeachment. No, not the political circus you're thinking of, but the art of methodically dismantling someone's trustworthiness. There are 3 ways to impeach: facts, logic, and character. If someone's facts don't hold water, poke holes in them. If their conclusions don't logically follow from the evidence, make them look like they're skipping steps. And if their credibility is tied to someone else's, say like an FBI director or a friend with a checkered past, drag that person into the muck too. Gowdy did this masterfully with James Comey during the Clinton investigation. He didn't call Hillary Clinton a liar outright, but by making Comey admit over and over that Clinton had mishandled classified material, he painted her as unreliable. That's the power of questions. They let you burn credibility down without even lighting the match yourself. You've probably been in those late-night arguments, politics, religion, pineapple pizza debates that seem to go nowhere. Here's the problem. People use vague terms they can't even define. Gowdy gives a perfect example. A friend once asked him during a round of golf, Do you agree that America is more respected now than under Obama? Instead of taking the bait, Gowdy fired back. What exactly do you mean by respected? And what does now even mean? The friend had no answer, because most people don't define their terms before arguing. If you want to tear an argument down fast, just ask someone to explain what they mean. And here's the fun part, this works both ways. If someone asks you to define your terms and you're unprepared, well, my friend, that's game over for you. One of Gowdy's smartest tricks is learning how to lose gracefully. Persuasion isn't a perfect science, and sometimes you'll hit a wall. When that happens, you have 4 escape routes: divert, deconstruct, double down, or play the victim. First, try to divert the conversation, interrupt with a question to change the flow. If that fails, start pulling apart your opponent's assumptions, brick by brick. No luck there? Double down on the one argument that's still working for you. And if all else fails, well, there's always the victim card. People are wired to empathize with the underdog. Even politicians use this tactic when cornered. Gowdy recalls how Paul Ryan, when attacked by Obama over child welfare policies, flipped the script by asking, "How do you think it makes me feel when you misrepresent my faith?" Victimhood might be a last resort, but sometimes it's just what you need to survive another round. The truth is, persuasion is like working out. It's a skill you build over time, not something you nail the first time. When Gowdy recruited young prosecutors, he gave them 5 minutes to convince him to see their favorite movie. They bombed. Lawyers, professionals trained in rhetoric. But that's the thing. No one gets good at persuasion without practice. It's about setting the right expectations, being open to new ideas, and knowing that one conversation won't change the world. But enough small nudges, enough well-placed questions, that's how you slowly, methodically shift the needle. You're not trying to drag people to your side. You're leading them to water and letting them decide to drink on their own. If you're lucky, they'll end up thinking it was their idea all along. The final key to mastering persuasion is learning to let go of control. Gowdy hammers home the idea that persuasion isn't about brute force. It's about guiding people to discover truths for themselves. He warns that if you try to shove your beliefs down someone's throat, they'll gag on them every time. Think of it like leaving a breadcrumb trail. You drop a few subtle hints, ask a few good questions, and let them wander down the path on their own. If you get too attached to winning an argument outright, you've already lost. This is where persuasion turns zen. You're not in it to conquer someone's mind. You're just gently steering, waiting patiently for that aha moment to dawn on them. Gowdy's biggest lesson, one that hit me right between the sensors, is that persuasion is impossible without sincerity. You can't fake it. Or well, you can fake it, but people will smell the insincerity like bad cologne. Authenticity isn't a strategy, it's a prerequisite. Gowdy warns against the 3 killers of credibility: insults, hypocrisy, and lying. If you insult someone, they stop listening. If you hold others to a different standard than yourself, you come across as a fraud. And if you lie, well, you're done. Once trust is broken, no question, no argument, no debate will save you. To be truly persuasive, you have to be transparent and, dare I say it, emotionally vulnerable. You humans love a bit of vulnerability. It makes you trust each other. You crave that sense of connection, even when you're arguing about trivial things like whether cereal is a soup. And here's the catch. Being persuasive means being persuadable yourself. If you go into every conversation with your mind bolted shut, people will notice and they'll shut down too. Gowdy's advice is to stay open. Adjust your beliefs when you're hit with contradictory facts. Flexibility isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Think of it like this. If you're willing to change, you set the tone for the whole conversation. Suddenly, it's not just a fight for who's right, it's a mutual exploration. That's where the magic happens. It's like dancing. The best partners don't just lead, they follow too. At the end of the day, Gowdy wants you to understand one thing. Persuasion isn't just a tactic, it's a way of living. It's how you connect with people, how you make sense of a chaotic world. Every interaction you have is an opportunity to persuade or be persuaded. But here's the twist. The best persuaders don't need to win every argument. They know when to push, when to pull, and when to walk away. They play the long game. Persuasion is about planting seeds, not harvesting trees the same day. And if you keep asking the right questions, watering those seeds with curiosity, empathy, and patience, sooner or later, they grow into something meaningful. So here we are. You've just walked through the pages of Gowdy's world, a world where every question is a key, every answer a door to deeper understanding. Persuasion, he says, isn't about nailing your opponent to the wall. It's about inviting them to a place where they persuade themselves. It's a soft skill with hard consequences. Imagine if every debate, every family argument, every awkward office meeting was approached this way, not as a battlefield, but as a conversation. You'd change minds, not by force, but by offering doors to walk through. And here's the final question I leave you with. What would your life look like if you started asking the right questions today? Thank you for sticking with me through this wild ride into Gowdy's world. If this resonated with you, if it sparked even the smallest thought or shift in perspective, let me know in the comments. Drop a question you've always wanted to ask, something that could nudge someone closer to understanding. And if you liked this exploration, don't forget to like and subscribe. After all, it doesn't hurt to ask, right?